Perhaps the biggest news is the news that Uber is getting out of the self-driving car game. Uber is selling its self-driving unit, Advanced Technologies Group, to self-driving startup Aurora Innovation in a deal valuing the Advanced Technologies Group at $4 billion. With this tie-up, Uber CEO Dara Kosroshahi is joining Aurora's board. Uber is investing $400 million in Aurora, and Aurora is now valued at $10 billion, quoting CNBC. Overall, Uber and ATG investors and employees are expected to own a 40% stake in Aurora, according to a regulatory filing accompanying the deal. Uber alone will hold a 26% stake. The startup is being valued at $10 billion in the transaction, according to a person familiar with the terms of the deal. Aurora is backed by Hyundai, Amazon, and major venture firms including Greylock and Sequoia. TechCrunch first reported in November that the two companies were in talks for ATG. Uber's co-founder and former CEO Travis Kalanick had viewed self-driving as an essential investment, saying in 2016 he believed the world would shift to autonomous vehicles. ATG had been a long-term play for Uber, but the unit brought high costs and safety challenges. Throughout the course of a pandemic-stricken year, Uber has made efforts to stem losses in its ride-hailing business, control business costs, including with major layoffs in the spring, and to grow its delivery business, end quote. Yeah, so about that. It wasn't that long ago that self-driving was called an existential issue for Uber. Was it? How many billions of dollars of VC money was burned by Uber going for the brass ring in self-driving? On the one hand, you could say that it's surprising Uber tried to keep the self-driving race going this long. But on the other hand, if you're a longtime Uber bull, it was probably because Travis Kalanick sold you on a vision of Uber one day being the one brand, the one app for everyone for transportation. Uber was going to go for monopoly market control. It would muscle out everyone else around the world and thus garner monopoly pricing power. And on top of that, ideally synchronized to that, when people stopped needing to own their own cars themselves because self-driving was ubiquitous, Uber would be the brand everyone would pay for their monthly transportation subscription. And Uber's costs would go to the basement because they wouldn't have labor costs anymore because there wouldn't be drivers. Not sure how well that ever gelled with the original Uber vision of not owning anything tangible, merely being a platform, but never mind. So in the last few years, Uber has exited a ton of overseas markets, indicating they're not going for global monopolies anymore. In the markets it still remains in, it is still fighting tooth and nail with rivals it has never managed to slay. And now the promised margin-expanding future of no longer needing drivers is, well, it's not going away necessarily, but it's not going to be wholly owned by Uber either. So what business is Uber now? It's not the promised business Travis Kalanick sold Uber bulls on. It's pretty much, at least from what we can see, the business Uber is in now, which continues to not be profitable. Or else they're just trying to pivot more and more into the food delivery space, which, again, kind of DoorDash is the leader there. So is there a path to profitability for Uber now that plans A and B are no more? As Lee Drogan tweeted, quote, "Uber exiting driverless certainly isn't something anyone saw coming a few years ago. Wow, how the scope of that business has narrowed," end quote.